The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hansen, Hinrichsen, Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. Good morning. Roll call is 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We do have a quorum. Will the good senator from Fort Collins please lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members and guests, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Exum.
Good morning, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of Monday, April 10th, 2023 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 11, 2023, correctly printed Senate Bill 272 and 273, Senate Joint Resolution 8, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 187 and Senate Resolution 7, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bills 1, 2, 32, 44, 82, 161, 177, 186, 193, 196, 202, 203, 208, and 209, correctly revised House Bill 1095, correctly re-revised House Bill 1094, 1143, 1167, 1168, correctly enrolled Senate Bill 228 and 229.
Committee reports.
April 10, 2023, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following Senate Bill 258 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. April 10, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following Senate Bill 247 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. With a recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1012 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 249 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation and Energy has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confer a member of the Colorado Energy Research Authority for a term effective July 1st, 2022, expiring July 1st, 2026. Michelle Hadwiger of Denver, Colorado, reappointed.
Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 274, Senator Winter, F. Representative Dixon, concerning water quality regulation in the state and in connection therewith, transferring fee-setting authority to the Water Quality Control Commission and modifying the membership of the commission.
Finance.
Senate Bill 275, Senator Janal, Representatives Duran and Lynch, concerning managing wild horses and in connection therewith, creating an entity to support management of wild horse herds in Colorado, seeking long-term solutions for horses removed from the wild range and making an appropriation.
Agriculture and Natural Resources. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for consideration of memorials.
The motion is to proceed out of order for the consideration of memorials. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. We will now proceed out of order to consideration of memorials. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Joint Memorial 6?
Senate Joint Memorial 6, Senator Coleman, Representative Bacon, memorializing former Senator Gloria Tanner.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Memorial 006 and request that it be read at length.
Will the clerk please read Senate Joint Memorial 6 at length?
Senate Joint Memorial 6, Senator Coleman, Representative Bacon, memorializing former Senator Gloria Tanner. Whereas our respected former colleague and beloved pioneer, Gloria Tanner, a past member of the Colorado House of Representatives and Senate, departed this life on April 4th, 2022, at the age of 86. And whereas Senator Tanner earned her bachelor's degree in political science from the Metropolitan State University of Denver in 1974, and her master's degree in urban affairs from the University of Colorado in 1976. And whereas Senator Tanner was a loving mother to her son Terrence R. Tanner and two daughters, Tanvis R. Tanner and Tracy L. Tanner, a beloved grandmother to Tiffany Tanner, Terrence Tanner, Dahir Adam, Tracy G. Tanner, Latoya Phillips, Torrance Phillips, and Teddy Phillips, a blessed great-grandmother to Daphne Salazar, Laisha Tanner, Carter Neal, Aspen Slankard, and Taryn Garner, a loving sister to Violet Travis Ricks Esquire, a loving aunt and great-aunt to many nieces and nephews and great-nieces and great-nephews, and a loyal friend to countless others. And whereas Senator Tanner was a founding member of the Regina Social and Civic Club and a dedicated and hard-working member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, among other historic organizations committed to improving the quality of life for all. And whereas Senator Tanner began her political career working as the executive assistant to Colorado Lieutenant Governor George L. Brown, and in 1978 she became executive director of communications for Colorado Senator Regis Groff. And whereas Senator Tanner successfully ran for a seat in the Colorado House of Representatives for House District 7 in 1985 and served for 9 years. And whereas Senator Tanner became the second African American to fill a leadership position in the House with her election as House Minority Leader in 1987, a position she held until 1990. And whereas upon the resignation of Senator Groff of Senate District 33, Senator Tanner was appointed as his replacement, making her the first Black woman to serve in the Colorado Senate. During her term, she served 2 years on the Joint Budget Committee, and whereas during her time in the legislature, Senator Tanner helped pass Colorado's Safe Haven Law, which allows parents to anonymously surrender a newborn they can't support. She also sponsored bills on civil rights for women and people of color, and worked to give a property tax break to certain older homeowners. And whereas being a pioneer was not enough for Senator Tanner, she was a trailblazer, creating the Black Round Table, a national organization of Black elected legislative women, to prepare and bring up the leaders behind her. In addition, she established the Gloria Tanner Leadership and Training Institute for future Black women leaders of Colorado and Colorado Black Women for Political Action. And whereas Senator Tanner was inducted into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame in 2002 and left behind a legacy and mantle that every Black woman and leader will be able to stand on for years to come. And whereas it is fitting that we, the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives of the 74th General Assembly, pay tribute to the dedicated service of Senator Gloria Tanner and express our deep regret and sorrow occasioned by her death. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 74th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that in the death of Gloria Tanner, the people of the state of Colorado have lost a dedicated public servant and outstanding citizen, and that we, the members of the Senate and House of Representatives of the 74th General Assembly, do hereby extend our deep and heartfelt sympathy to the members of her family and pay tribute to a person who served her state well and faithfully. And be it further resolved that copies of this memorial be sent to Senator Tanner's son, Terrence R. Tanner, her daughters Tanvis R. and Tracy L. Tanner, her sister Violet Travis Ricks, the president of the Regina Social and Civic Club, and the president of the Denver Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, please take your seats. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing? This is a joyous occasion.
Yes, it is.
The Honorable Gloria Travis Tanner served as a member of both the House of Representatives from 1985 to 1994, including the role of House Minority Leader from 1987 to 1990, and the Senate from 1994 to 2001, where she concluded her Senate term as a member of the Joint Budget Committee. During her 17 years in public service, she initiated and sponsored legislation on key issues such as marital discrimination in the workplace, parental responsibility, workers' compensation cost savings, civil rights for women and minorities, and parental rights for adoptive parents. A mentor to many, Senator Tanner is the co-founder, as you heard, of the Colorado Black Women for Political Action and the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women, otherwise known as Noble Women. In the African American community, we celebrate the achievements of our elders and ancestors, their legacies, and how we are connected to their work within this place. Utilizing this phrase, we stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. In this moment, we, the African American delegation in the Colorado Legislature, Democratic Legislative Caucus, rejoice in our task to give honor to our ancestor, Senator Gloria Travis Tanner. Imagine actually standing on Senator Tanner's shoulders. Take a moment to think about and understand how much further we are able to see from this additional height. Imagine, too, our collective weight, which she supported and lifted up while she was alive, right up to her last days. And now, the past and policies she championed sit on our shoulders, policies that today, nearly 40 years later, we find ourselves pursuing anew. Today, we reflect on our willingness and her willingness to work across the very aisle directly in front of me to push forward policies that moved the arc of morality. We remember willingness to laugh together, to find common goals. We remember her ability to shine a light on bigotry, on racism, and inequity, sometimes in this very chamber. And we remember her time and patience to share her wisdom with those who have followed her lead into both of the chambers of the Colorado General Assembly. Yes, we remember the first Black woman to be seated in this chamber, and we celebrate her. We say her name now, and we'll say it many more times as we stand on her legacy. I grew up on 38th and Monaco Parkway here in Denver. Senator Tanner lived on 22nd and Monaco Parkway. She was my House representative and my state senator from the day I was born until my junior year in high school, which is just a few years ago. Wow. Many members of our community encouraged me to run, encouraged us to run. But everyone told us the most important conversation to determine whether or not you should run for office was to be had in the living room of the Honorable Gloria Tanner, as did many of us in this chamber, and those of us who weren't able to attend today. With her blessing, we ran. Having Senator Tanner's support was important to all of us, but the confidence she gave you to run as the first Black woman to serve in this chamber and as one of the most influential, caring, loving members of our community made you feel invincible. I lost my mother in January last year. She and many powerful women in my community stood in the gap for me during the toughest time of my life. Many of those women sit in this chamber this morning. Not just as a candidate, but more importantly, to show that love that only a mother could. We celebrated her homegoing a few months later after my mother passed away, and she will live forever eternally through her family and through all of us. As members of the Colorado State Legislature, we remember Senator Gloria Travis Tanner for her leadership, for her excellence, and her service. And we thank her family and our community for the opportunity to memorialize her today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues, and our guests. Welcome to the State Senate. I'm here to pay tribute to someone that I truly do miss. That's Senator Gloria Tanner. I miss you, and I know that she's looking down from heaven at all of us, and she's noticing that I'm wearing red. Because she was a proud woman of Delta Sigma Theta. When I think of Senator Tanner, I think of her like she was our Harriet Tubman or our Shirley Chisholm. Harriet Tubman because she operated her own Underground Railroad. No one could run for office if you were Black and you did not spend any time with Senator Tanner. She opened up her home, you sat at her table, and she had a discussion with you. And it didn't matter if you were running for a political office or was something that was going on in the community, she would lend some guidance and some advice. And basically what she said is, don't stand on the sideline complaining or whining. If you have something to say, lend your voice, get in the game. the same as Harriet Tubman. She didn't lose one single person that was getting out of slavery to freedom. Every single one that traveled that Underground Railroad made it to freedom. So when I ran for the House of Representatives way back in 2010, I had that conversation with her. And that's when I was reminded of Shirley Chisholm, because Shirley Chisholm would say, if you're not at the table and there's no chair for you, bring up a folding chair. She inspired me, don't wait for someone to ask you to run. If you're in my house, you've already been ordained and validated to run. And she would give me all kinds of different inspiring thoughts in reference to running a campaign and interacting with the community. I miss you so much, because she provided me with the guidance that I needed. So I'm going to close there, but I'm going to close with something that I remember that she said to me about debating in the well. She told me never debate with a fool, because at some point people don't know who the fool is. I try to remember that, Senator Taylor. When she passed away, I discovered that I was sitting at her desk for 4 years and didn't know that until I was reminded by the Senate secretary. And there was a placard there. I really never noticed it. But knowing that I sat at her seat at that desk, that is the inspiration that I take with me every single day. She built a bench. That's what that railroad did in Denver, Metro, wherever. She would open her home to you. She built a bench. And she told you when it was your time to play. So Senator Tanner, I'm playing. I'm in full court. And I'm taking the ball on. Thank you. We love you.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I ask for this moment of personal privilege to honor our friend, Gloria Tanner. It just does my heart so much good today to look around this chamber and see so many people from our community, so many friends and officials. Gloria is smiling. The Honorable Gloria Tanner is a legend. First African-American senator in Colorado. And she was a lady. She was always appropriate in everything she did. She had a quiet demeanor and grace, but knew how to get her point across without really raising her voice. She was pretty. She was really stylish. She loved to wear her beautiful clothes and her fur coats. She had style. She was very wise and gave great advice. And the fact that she was the first Black to be elected to a leadership position sure tells you a lot. She served as Minority Caucus Chair over in the House, and I wish she were here today to give me advice, since I am the Majority Caucus Chair in the Senate. She would probably tell me, Janet, when I came to your house, when your husband passed away, I told you to lead with purpose and poise. She's one of the reasons I decided to take a chance and follow my heart and continue my late husband's legacy. I will never forget the day, a few days after my husband passed away, and the doorbell was ringing a lot and my kids were at the house, and I heard my son and my daughter say, Mom, look out the window. Gloria Tanner's getting out of her car. I said, Gloria Tanner's coming to my house? Because she was a legend to our family. And it wasn't just Gloria who came, she brought her posse with her. She brought Wilma Webb, she brought Rosemary Marshall, she brought Angela Williams, and some other people who had names in politics. And she convinced me, yes, this is what you should do. You should follow your heart and continue your husband's legacy. Well, I tried to stay poised like Gloria. I'm louder than her, but when she was alive, she always encouraged me to make decisions for those I served. She always told me to work across the aisle, which I do. She told me to remember why I wanted to serve. She is sorely missed, but she will never be forgotten. We are going to continue her legacy. She made such a big difference, and we're not going to let her down. She's a legend, and we stand on her convictions, and we're going to continue to carry on crucial work and open more doors of opportunity. Gloria also founded an organization called the Reginas, which is a civic and social group, and a lot of those ladies are here today, and if I could just have the courtesy of allowing the Reginas to stand, because these ladies know what to do to help candidates, to help young ladies in the community learn how they can serve. And also, they know how to throw a party. We would have so many fundraisers with the Reginas where they would raise money and give scholarships to young ladies and also make donations to churches. I'll never forget the Sunday you all came to our church, New Hope, and gave us a love gift. So ladies who are also my friends, thank you for being here today to honor our friend, Honorable Gloria Tanner.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Senate Rule 31A for the purpose of allowing current and former members of the General Assembly to address the Senate concerning this memorial.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. The Senate will now stand in recess to hear remarks from members of the House and former members of the legislature. Thank you all for being here. We have some giants in this chamber with us today, and we are honored to have you, and we look forward to your comments and stories about the Honorable Senator Tanner. Representative Epps.
Does it go up and down like ours? I don't know. Good morning, colleagues, as I'm trying to figure out if this goes up and down.
Bring them together?
Yeah, members, just so folks know, we have had some technical issues recently. So the left microphone is our attempt at silencing the Republicans.
Touche.
It hasn't been successful, but the left microphone is a little low, so either bring them together or speak in the right one, maybe.
Absolutely. Good morning, colleagues and sorors. Part of the work of being here, an essential part of the work of being here, and the work done by our Senator Tanner is the work of voting itself. So apologies that we have been in and out as we've been running over to make sure that we can do that. If I missed it, if it hasn't already happened, and just do it again if it has, I'd love to invite my sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated to please stand as I acknowledge our soror. Would love for you to be recognized. Can we clap in here? I don't know if we're allowed to or not.
We're in recess, I guess.
I want to say a couple of things. It has been one of the honors of my lifetime to represent for these past few months House District 6. Every time you come to our Capitol, you are coming to House District 6, and so that's a special thing for me. A parallel honor, and one that I prayed for many, many years as a little girl and into becoming a woman, was to become a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And growing up on the East Coast and the South as I did, I knew the name Gloria Tanner long before I ever knew that I would be here, and that's special company to be in. You heard the word trailblazer used to describe Senator Tanner earlier, and that's true, but in a very literal sense. I'm not sure if our colleagues shared with you, please be seated. I'm not sure if our colleagues shared with you the brief story about our first public act as a sorority. And so we were founded in 1913 in January by college-educated women, but just 2 months into that founding, our founders did a remarkable thing, and it's a thing that Senator Tanner has carried forth many years later. I want you to imagine being 18, 19, 20 in college, being a black woman in college in the early 1900s, being a woman in college, period, at that age, and having the grace, the discernment, the fortitude, and the knowledge when going to school in the nation's capital to take a vote as a chapter, when you could be having teas and socials, and we did that too, I'm sure, but to take a vote as to whether or not, as a body, those 22 young, emphasis on young women, would take part in the Women's Suffrage March. And I bring this up in the context of Senator Tanner because it's important to understand that if you were a black woman in 1912 and 1913 and you were going to be participating in a women's suffrage march, as I shared with our colleague from Douglas County, you did so knowing that you were marching for a right that you weren't about to have. You did so lobbying for folks who were going to be recipients of a prize that was still out of reach for you at 18, 19, 20. I'd like to think, I was a precocious teenager, I would like to think that even I had the fortitude to do that at that age. I'm not sure that I would have. But that spirit is the spirit of Delta, and it's what Senator Tanner carried forward. It's a precious thing to lobby for a result that isn't even going to be yours yet, and to live to see it through. In 2021, I had occasion to have a series of interviews, I'll call it, with Senator Tanner, in preparation for another thing that I was aspiring to do, and she put me through my paces. She really, really did, and I'm the beneficiary of that. When I look out at your desks, I actually get anxiety looking at some of the clutter, but to each their own how we move through these spaces. If you're ever in the House chamber, you will see that of the 64 desks on the floor, there is one that is always clear. And I see a back row senator who may be my counterpart in the Senate. Mine is always clear. And if you look down, though, there's just one thing on my desk. It's a little card holder, and the card at the back has words written on the back. And the words written on the back are the words that Senator Tanner said. They're the words that hundreds of thousands now of black women have said on different continents, in different generations. But we all made the same promise. And part of that promise is, and it's written on the back of that card on my desk, is I will take an active interest in the welfare of my country, using my influence toward the enactment of laws for the protection of the unfortunate and weak and for the repeal of those depriving human beings of their privileges and rights. That's a promise we all make. And we take it very seriously. And when we make that promise, that doesn't mean you have to run for office one day, but it means quite literally that you will take an active interest. And Senator Tanner did that. And that you will work for laws for the protection, we may not now say the words unfortunate and weak, but we know what we mean, our most vulnerable neighbors, right? The folks who have been systematically excluded and who need our protection, the folks who don't have good representation here. And Senator Tanner did that, right? And to actively name teenage girls, naming as part of their promise that I will work for the repeal of laws depriving human beings of their privileges and rights. That's a bold thing for anybody to say, much less young women. And Senator Tanner did that. To her family, thank you for sharing her with us. Thank you. To my colleagues, I hope that we do all of the things that our colleague reminded us that Senator Tanner had laid forth for us to do. It is an honor. It is an honor to serve, and it is a special honor to not be first. Thank you.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here in the Senate for my first time with you.
Always an honor to be with you, Leslie.
You know, it's hard. I'm probably not going to make it through this. It's hard to talk about Senator Tanner. I probably can't do this. She meant so much to so many of us, especially those of us who just wanted to do better for our communities, for our people. Damn it. When I was young, coming to Colorado, I was new to the political scene. I was honored to have the support of the Honorable Rosemary Marshall, who believed in me and who brought me under her wing and introduced me to the Denver community. Senator Tanner was one of the first people I met and one of the first people, along with Rosemary, who believed in me. I didn't think I could serve my community in the way that I wanted to because I am queer. And she reminded me that I can serve because we can do it, and because it is our duty to serve. I was never a Delta. I didn't have that opportunity growing up. So she brought me into Noble Women. And I think that was her training ground for me to see if I was ready to serve. And then I became the president of Colorado Black Women for Political Action and knew it was my time to step up. She never hesitated in supporting me, but she always made sure I knew where my heart was and knew where the work is. I think about Representative Bacon, Representative Epps, Senator Coleman, Ashley. I think about us younger generation of folks who are coming in trying to fill the shoes of Senator Tanner, Representative Marshall, Representative Webb, Anna Jo, so many folks. And I'm so lucky and honored to have Senator Fields, Senator Buckner, Senator Exum, to help guide us during this very difficult journey. I remember the time that folks realized that Gloria and I had grown close, and there was a young man who was a good friend of mine, and you guys can be seated, thank you for your support in that, who wanted the support of Senator Tanner so that he could run his race. And I told him it was going to be difficult because she didn't know him, and that she wasn't an easy first conversation, as Rep. Epps mentioned. But he was committed. And the way that you have those conversations with the senator is you go to her house and you sit on her back porch and you have tea or lemonade, talk about her flowers and her garden, and then she asks you the very tough questions. I remember my friend leaving that meeting and saying, I don't know. I don't know if I got it. I don't know if I did okay. And then I got the call that, of course, he did. That's Congressman Joe Neguse, who I know wants to be here today. But there is no one in our community that is serving today that has not had that talk with Senator Tanner. When she left us, it didn't feel real. And when we seek to take new positions or to fight on tough issues, we still all call on her. We all call on her support. We call on her guidance and her passion and her leadership. So Senator Tanner is still with us every single day, and I couldn't say these words without saying Cleo Breeze is also standing right there with her. Cleo, thank you. And that's the point. We can't serve without our people by our sides. And she made sure that she grew organizations and sisterhoods so that when we all took those positions, elected or not, that we were supported by each other. Her spirit is felt in this room and in these halls every single day. But it's a reminder that we are called to serve. And as we think to our elders and those who we lean on, we have to give them their roses today. We have to listen to their advice and their guidance today. Just because we no longer serve in these chambers does not mean that we are not instrumental members of this community. If it wasn't for Gloria, the senator, I would not be standing here. But I would also not be standing here without Cleo, without Rosemary, without Wilma, Happy, Anna Jo, and so many others. You all shaped Colorado. Together, through your differences, you shaped Colorado, and you have shaped us as well. So it's an honor to be here. To her family, thank you.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your service and your time today on this memorial. I gotta say, I don't know why I always follow Representative Epps and Representative Herod. And most days, I don't even know why I'm here. I mean, you heard a lot. I want to say thank you to all the beautiful women you see here in the red, and I will not hold it against you because you know my colors are pink and green. But, you know, one of the things that I think it's really important that we all understand about Senator Tanner is that, just as you heard Representative Herod say, I would not be here. And I joke, but I don't. There are days where I try to understand. I was probably everyone's favorite little niece or little kid running around town because my mother was the one who was mostly civically engaged. Many of you know her. And one day I had the nerve to say, you know, I think our community wants to have voice in their schools. And one day I had the nerve to say, maybe I should be able to do something about that. And few women in this room looked me up and down like, who are you? It was awesome. But they also looked into my spirit. And the first place, like you heard with all of these stories, they told me to go was to sit with Senator Gloria Tanner. And I did not know much of the deep history of the Denver community, but I was learning. And what was important to me before I went to that meeting was to actually know that history before I sat there. I sat in her living room. I had lemonade.
Yeah.
And like many of the women who are here today, people need to understand what she experienced over the span of her lifetime. Many of you may have heard this in my chamber. For context, my mother graduated from a segregated high school in 1970. It's not 1943, not 1926, one generation ago. And when we think about where the African American community started and where it was very critical that anybody who wanted to step into a seat of leadership and be African American knew of that work and continued at every opportunity to, what we say in my generation, put your community on. Every opportunity you have, whether it is how can we feature Black business, how can we feature our history and our curriculum, how can we feature the right to vote. It is critical that we know that there are people alive who lived in a time where they were not allowed to. My grandparents, my parents had to face poll taxes. The reason why we have overcome redlining is because of Anna Jo Haynes, is because of Gloria Tanner, is because of fill in the blank. And so it was incredibly important that we not only knew that history, but would commit to finding that day of freedom. And so thank you for comparing Senator Tanner to Harriet Tubman, because it is so true. And so I say that so you all can also understand us. We are here to address those systems that put us in a place of inferior that we did not deserve. And when you hear us fight for that, please know it comes with the generations before us, all of their might, all of their hope, all of their pain, all of their love, all of their trust, so that we get these things done. We are here honoring Senator Tanner because there would not be a place for us if she was not here. I am not a first, and I'm okay with that. I do have the honor of serving as the chair of the Black Caucus and the assistant majority leader. But make no mistakes, those titles do not belong to me alone. And so Senator Tanner, she is more than an icon. She is the embodiment of our movements here. And if we had our own currency, I would fight to get her on the $100 bill. And so, colleagues, thank you as you sit here in remembrance of her. Please see in all of our faces a whole culture, a whole future born of what is possible for our communities. She would have it no other way. And so for someone who kind of came out of nowhere, she knew me better than I knew myself. And I could be forever grateful because she was willing to meet people where they were at for the sake of us all. And to this day, I will never know why I deserve that. I will never know why I deserve that. And if you have never felt that kind of unrequited, unexpected love, I hope you feel that at one point in time in your life. And so I will just end with this note of joy as she has gone home, as we say, as we celebrate her homegoing. But please know, for all of you here, for all of my elders, for all of the family that you share with us, Representative Marshall, she didn't know me either, but she said to me, "You are worth it." Anna Jo Haynes, Happy Haynes, Wilma Webb, Khadijah Haynes, and yes, Speaker Carroll, Dr. Percioni. Thank you all for celebrating her homegoing today. Appreciate it. Do you want to present the flags? Sure. Okay. Do you want to? Okay, we have a few flags to present.
So this is my first time having the honor of being able to do this, to present flags to, of course, our United States, our federal flag, and the beautiful flag of the great state of Colorado. To the family of Senator Gloria Tanner, I want to name that we are deeply appreciative of our colleagues, the staff, who ensured that we were able to have these flags flown on April 4th. April 4th is the day that she left, that she went home a year ago, and it's also a day that many in this room will understand why it's a heavy day for we who care about justice in these United States. It's a day that we know that we lost someone else very precious to this movement. So I appreciate the logistical support in ensuring that we were able to do this on April 4th. Glad to present these to the family and, of course, certificates that note all of this as well. Thank you.
Any former members who would like to speak, please feel free to come to the well at any time. Speaker Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to go to. This is a little different than the House of Representatives. I'm used to standing over here when I speak from the well as opposed to over here. I'd like to thank the Senate for this opportunity, especially Senator Coleman, who is my senator in my neighborhood in Park Hill. And I think it's quite appropriate that we honor Gloria Tanner on this day that's Delta Sigma Theta Day. here at the Capitol. I know it was her beloved sorority. I don't wear red and white. Those of you know that I'm part of the blue and white family. But when I pledged Chi Chapter at Morehouse, it was the women of Delta Sigma Theta at Spelman College who frequently saved us from the days when we had no food and the days where we had to hide from our big brothers. So I'm eternally grateful to the women of Delta Sigma Theta, because I think if it had not been for you all, I may not have made it through my pledging process. So thank you very much. I'm not going to be long. I had some prepared statements. I spent some time last night trying to write down a list of all the things that Senator Tanner had accomplished in her lifetime. And I found that it's pretty long. I have 2 pages here. And I found that it was something that it was probably a yeoman's task to do, because I would never finish it. I probably could write an entire treatise on all the things that she's done. So I decided to focus on what she meant to me personally and what she meant to our community. And like many folks, when I first ran for office, when I was going for my appointment in 2002, when my friend Senator Peter Groff, now former president of the Senate Peter Groff, went to the Senate, and he sends his regards, he could not be here, I was immediately told by a whole slew of people that I had to make my way to Monaco Boulevard, or make my way to Monaco Parkway. And I went to Monaco Parkway, and I sat in the living room, and I spoke to Senator Tanner, and I was the dark horse candidate. No one thought I was going to win. There was a preferred candidate to fill the vacancy to House District 7, and I was not that preferred candidate. But Senator Tanner, even though she did not support me because she was such a preferred candidate, told me, if you feel the calling in your heart, if you feel this impulse to do this thing, then you go do this thing. And as a young preacher back then, and I'm not going to preach today because I'm more of a lawyer than I am a preacher nowadays. Oh, hey, Senator Gardner. I'm glad to see you're still keeping things going with the long discussions here. We served together in the House, and we were in the House Judiciary Committee together, and we had many of long nights thanks to him. And so thank you for doing that. I hear it goes on in the Senate. But she told me to do what you feel in your heart, to follow the call that you think you have. And as someone who grew up in the church, that was both a hard task and an easy task, because when you feel like you're called to something, it sets into motion things in your body and things in your spirit and things in your heart that if you don't do it, you feel like there's something missing. So one of the things I learned from Senator Tanner is that you have to pursue those things that you feel called to do. But she didn't finish her speaking into my life at that point. In 2008, she tried to get me married off. During the DNC convention, when it was here in Denver, Colorado, some of you were there, she had a big party in her backyard over in Monaco. And for some reason, there was an inordinate amount of single women that were there. And for some reason, there was an inordinate amount of single women who made their way by the place where I was seated. And I knew what she was up to. And I tried to hide. I tried to make sure that I sat somewhere where she couldn't find me. And I'm sure her son knows about her insistence on getting her way. But she insisted on trying to get her way with me. And I hid, and I hid, and I hid. And perhaps I shouldn't have hid, because I somehow may have missed out on something. But I'm going to go ahead and get ready to take my seat. I'm not going to be the Baptist preacher that I am. And I think Ware Webb stole it from me about Baptist preachers going on and on and on and having 3 closings. So I'm not going to have 3 closings, Mr. President. I'm just going to do this one time and take my seat. Shakespeare once talked about the good that people do often when in Antony and Cleopatra and Antony's funeral oration of Julius Caesar, he once said that the good that men do is often buried with them, and the bad lives on and on. I would argue that with Senator Gloria Travis Tanner, that her good continues to live. It's that her good that we'll remember because of all the things that she did for all of us and all the people that are in this room. We've heard the stories over and over again. It's the good in her that will be remembered. It's the good of the Safe Haven Act. It's the good of all the women, not only in this state, but around the country, who are in elected office because of the work that she did through Noble. It is all the young women and young men who found their way into elected office because of her mentorship. The late Harvard chaplain, Dr. Goins, once said that the final lesson that many people give us is in their death. It's not their life necessarily, but it's in their death. It's how people feel about them after they're long gone. What people think about them after we put them in the ground and we've gone on with our daily lives. Do they continue to be in our lives? Do they continue to be in our memories? So I guess the final lesson that Senator Tanner has given to all of us is that we're all here. Is that we're all here to remember who she was. We're all here to remember how she talked and touched each of us in a different way, how she spoke into our lives, how she spoke into our hearts, how she made each of us feel special in our own particular way. And as I take my seat finally, really on the third time, it's just after Easter, so I have to do things in threes because someone very important to my life got up early on the third day. And so for me, people doing things in threes is important because someone who made my life different got up early on the third day, and I'm not going to preach today, but that third day is important. So in the book of Numbers, in the Old Testament, in chapter 13, Moses had sent a group of Israelites into Canaan to scout the land. And when they came back, they gave a report. And a group of them said, there are giants in the land. They're giants that we can't slay. But then Caleb got up and said, we can take them. Because our Lord, our God, has anointed us to go into this place. I assume that Gloria Tanner, if she were to be speaking to us right now, and she had been one of those scouts that went into the land, and when everyone else said that there were giants in the land that we can't slay, Gloria Tanner would have said, we can slay those giants. Because if she had not said that we can slay those giants, she would not have made the changes that she made in this great state. She would not have been the first among first. She would not be the person that we all remember. She would not be the person who we'll never forget, because she knew that we slayed giants and that we have a calling, each and every one of us who believe that she impacted our lives. We have a responsibility to continue to slay the giants in the land of injustice, of inequity, of bigotry, of racism. We have a responsibility to continue to slay those giants. Thank you, Mr. President, for your time.
Senator Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, members of the family, guests, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm here to speak about Colorado State Senator Gloria Travis Tanner. Just to say those words has a lot of impact to us that knew her and loved her and were influenced by her. And let me tell you a little story about her. Whenever Senator Tanner wanted to talk to me about something, we'd meet in that little corner over there. And at the time, the cameras couldn't catch it. It would drive the lobbyists crazy because they couldn't see who was talking about what or what they were talking about or the body language or what papers are being exchanged. But that was like the little secret place where we talked about things. And let me tell you a little bit personal story about Senator Tanner. Most people don't know that that right now, specific prostate antigen tests are now included in almost every healthcare plan. But when Senator Tanner went to present a bill to make that be covered in every healthcare plan, she traced, you talk about giants that she faced, every single healthcare provider in this building and every lobbyist challenged her. But you know what? She challenged them right back with data, with important things. And she stressed how important that is a tool for testing for prostate cancer for men. And she had data that I wasn't even aware of. But to this day, I remember how, and I probably shouldn't say which provider, but there was one provider that just kept coming to me and saying, well, you can't vote for that. I said, this is Senator Tanner's bill. There's no way I'm going to oppose her. She's doing the right thing. And every single bill that she passed and carried was for a community or community at large. And that's what impressed me about her. So to this day, and I can tell you, but because of that prostate-specific antigen test, which is a blood test, it's a minimal cost. And now that I look back, I wonder why they fought Senator Tanner so hard on that. Because it's a tool. It's a tool to discover are there prostate antigens in your body, what's going on, so that you could do further things. And even there were some oncologists who said, well, we're going to get false positive. But Senator Tanner held her ground. And she said, no, this is important. She said, because the physiologies with men of color are different than they are with Caucasian men. And the data that you have is based on Caucasian men. And she said, we need to take a look at that. And that's why this is important. And so she always stressed, she said, now, Rob, you're going to have to do this too, because, you're a man, and if there's a specific history in your family, you need to pay attention to this. And so I did. And so I can tell you, I'm standing before you now as a survivor of prostate cancer because I took that specific prostate antigen test that Gloria Tanner made possible with my healthcare provider. So she did more than that. She knew healthcare, but she understood men's healthcare. So I thought that was important to share that story with you because that was critical for men's health, not only but especially for men of color. So she was far-reaching in so many things that she did. But I have to tell you, serving with her for 2 years and meeting in that little corner back there and having our Monday morning color of caucus, as she called it, we're going to talk about things and what's going to happen during the week. It was an honor and it was a pleasure. And those were the 2 most wonderful years I spent in the Senate was with Colorado State Senator Gloria Travis Tanner. Thank you.
Representative Webb.
Mr. President of the Colorado Senate, and to all of the members present here, and to those who are from the lowly House of State Representatives as myself, and to the family of Gloria Travis Tanner, and to Gloria's heart of love, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, where she served faithfully and loyally from the time that she entered until the time that she passed all of us. I have a speech here. You don't have to worry, I'm not going to read it. I'm not even going to refer to it but one time. But I look out and I see this Senate. And I've also reflected on the House since I left in the early 1990s. And there is not one face in here that was there when I was in service from 1980 to 1993. Senator Gloria Tanner came in 1985, and I was already there in the House of Representatives. But I look out now, I don't even know the number of Black elected officials between the House and the Senate. But please be reassured that I know that Senator Gloria Tanner had a lot to do with the election of the people that are here in this body, and particularly Black elected officers. I know that there were only 2 of us at the time that I served in the House, and there was only 1 African American in the Senate, and that was Senator Regis Groff. And I have to tell you that I knew Gloria Tanner before either one of us were elected to office. I met her in 1960. We were both young married women, and I don't know if you know this either. Gloria and I, wives, young, were pregnant together. That was a holy time for both of us. And I don't know if you know this or not. Gloria, a woman who received her Bachelor of Arts degree from Metropolitan State College, university now, and also from the University of Colorado, Denver. Before that time, both of us were trying to find ourselves and to try to know who we were going to be for the rest of our lives. And so before Gloria went to those prestigious colleges and came out magna cum laude and all of these great things, we both went to something that helped a lot of people, and that was to Emily Griffith Opportunity School. I was what was called, at the time that I was young, a secretary, and now we are administrative assistants. And we learned from that experience, and we never knew that she would be the first African-American woman to become a senator in the Colorado State Senate. And I never knew that I would be elected to the Colorado House of Representatives and served more than any other black person there. I served 13 years in the Colorado House. And I'm saying this to say this. Gloria and I were inspired in the 1960s particularly because we were inspired by such leaders who made our government deal with issues that they didn't want to deal with, like voting rights, and like whether or not schools were segregated and needed to be desegregated, and registering people to vote. I remember that Gloria and I would go up to the Dahlia Shopping Center, which was in, at that time, the border of both of our districts. I was District 8 and she was District 7. And we would register people at the old King Soopers that was there in that shopping center. And from that moment on, we tried to make a difference, not even being elected to office. And I have to say, or else I would not be complete in telling this story, to stating that we were moved because there was so much racism that existed. Racism hasn't gone away, but it's just in a new form. And I want to say thanks to Gloria for the way that she approached, the way that she served our state and our nation and also our city. She said to me one day, and I have it in this speech that I was going to read to you, which is much better than my speaking from my heart right now because it's really very, very painful. I am probably, politically speaking, the oldest person in this body right now and the oldest person in the House because most of those members are gone. And so you probably don't know a lot of the battles that went on. Gloria said, "We all may be a little different, but when we cry, we all cry tears that are all clear, and everybody's tears are all the same." And that was her philosophy for being an elected official. And so we worked through all of the problems that were facing us at the times that both of us served together. And there were good times that were there too. But you can really tell when somebody is a for real person. Just get in a little bit of trouble and you'll see who your friends really are. Gloria got in trouble once in the House, and I got in trouble once in the House. Gloria Tanner wanted to be our caucus chairperson, and she had been able to get the number of votes that she thought was necessary for our caucus to elect her. When we first cast the first ballot, it was a tie vote. And so I, State Representative Wilma J. Webb, made a motion that we take a recess for her to solidify the votes that she thought she had. Gloria campaigned for about 5 minutes or so, and then we came back to order again, and the final vote was taken. Gloria became the caucus chair, because when she was in trouble, both of us came to our assistance, and there were only 2 of us. You probably have heard the story about when I had been the sponsor for Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday in Colorado, and it got passed in 1984. Well, I paid the price for doing that. I was already a member of the Joint Budget Committee, and I was not approved, although I had been voted by my caucus, and although I had been appointed by our minority leader. Well, we had to go to court to fight for the fights and for the places of the minority party to be able to appoint their own and elect their own members to committees in our General Assembly. Well, Gloria helped in that effort because we had to have expensive attorneys to be able to take our case to court. We won that case, but I would not have been able to succeed if it hadn't been for the assistance of Gloria Tanner. And I remember her when she would come into the House, and this was before technology really had its place in our world like it does today. She had a yellow legal pad that she would carry around with her every day, and she would always carry it up in her arms, always, all the time. And she would have each and every telephone call that any constituent had made to her, and she would answer all of those telephone calls because my desk wasn't too far from hers, and I could hear her returning her calls to all of her constituents. Another thing that she did, she set an example for all of us in terms of raising our children. Gloria would have her children, and I remember particularly her grandchildren, to come down and follow her all around these halls and all around these chambers and to political meetings. And she was an excellent example of being a parent. And so I want to say, yes, we miss Gloria Tanner. She was a fantastic organizer. She knew how to bring women together. She knew how to bring groups of people together. And she would get them to do what she thought should happen, even though she was very, very soft-spoken. She never yelled at anybody. She never forced anybody. But she had a will for trying to do what she knew to be what was right. And so, yes, today, as we are paying tribute to Senator Gloria Travis Tanner, I want to say, yes, if we could say it to Gloria, we miss you so much, Gloria. But the one thing that's even greater than missing you in all of the things that you started and all of the things that you made happen, we're the better for it, and we remember you for it. So I just want to say thanks to this body and to all of the people, all of the friends, near and far, who supported Senator Gloria Travis Tanner. I'm really honored to make remarks about her. Thank you.
Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. You know, shortly after term limits, the rules were changed in this chamber and in the House to allow former members to come speak. I think clearly one of Senator Tanner's greatest legacy is that y'all didn't need us today. There are members serving here now, both in the House and the Senate, who could tell the stories that we're supposed to be telling. Which is an amazing legacy. Senator Tanner and I had the glory of serving together in the early 90s here in this chamber when she first came over. And what impressed me the most about her, and Representative Webb, First Lady Webb just mentioned it, you know, her constituent work. She was by far the best outside of the building legislator that I ever served with. And it wasn't just returning the phone calls. It was getting things done for people in her district that needed it. Her and her assistant Faye were nonstop. They had an office set up in Colorado Boulevard where folks would come in, and even if it was stuff that she had nothing to do with, Medicare or Social Security or a school district policy, one of the great things about our job now, and evidently she had that well after I did, is people return our phone calls. Senator Tanner understood the power that had in getting solutions to the people that she served. If a principal, if a school kid of a constituent was having trouble and she needed to get in touch with the principal, they'd often go through Senator Tanner to do it. If somebody couldn't get their military or their Medicare benefits or their Social Security, they'd go through Senator Tanner. Stuff that we don't deal with, she got solved because she could and she understood that power. It's stuff that I tried to emulate when I was a legislator. The outside of the building stuff, the stuff that I think matters far more to our constituents than the work we do within the building. Senator Tanner was a wonderful, classy person. Even when she served in the House, she found her way over here once or twice a week in the Senate, usually to check in with Senator Groff on common things that were going on in the district, common things that were going on in the building. Because even though they'll talk about legislation that she passed, the reality is we didn't really pass that much legislation as Democrats in the early 90s in the Senate. We didn't. It was that other work, yeah, you know how it is. It was that other work that you could get done, that frankly you should get done, whether or not you're getting legislation passed for the people that elected you to serve. Senator Tanner was wonderful to me, and her aide Faye was wonderful to me as a young kid who wasn't ever supposed to be in the building. She welcomed me and helped me along, and she was an incredible role model, I think, for me and for the others that were here.
Senator Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm Gigi Dennis, former state senator from the southern part of the state, and I think I'm the only Republican that served with Gloria that's here. And so this is a real honor for me from the standpoint I was over in the House doing a memorial for Representative Jim Snook, and then when I saw the calendar, I was like, goodness, yes, I need to come talk about our friend Gloria. Since Senator Tanner, so many of the words that you all selected were right on. She had poise, she had grace, she rarely came to the well, but when she did, you'd all pause and listen because you'd get tired of listening to those that were always up here. And Gloria had such meaning and heart. And it was all that, it was, you know, if I needed a rural vote, I could go to her and explain the situation. And Gloria was so thoughtful and would, you know, she'd work with us. She worked across the aisle, and she was quite an effective legislator. I want to share one piece of legislation that she carried, and I was reminded by this by former Representative Gail Berry. Gloria carried the legislation that allowed people that wanted to give up their young babies and take them to a safe haven of the fire station. And it was a ruckus, and Republicans were upset, and Democrats couldn't understand why, and we finally came to the middle and got that passed. And so you think about, you know, the challenges that some young women face and the uncertainty and the not knowing what to do, and to be able to go and put their child where they can at least know that it's a safety net. And then other things happen. But Gloria was one of those. She had great compassion and great heart, and I was very proud to serve with her. Thank you.
Representative Piccioni.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning I had to give a keynote address, and I was really nervous that I wasn't going to be able to make it back here in time because I wanted to speak also to the legacy of Senator Tanner. And I thought about that, and I was texting Senator Buckner and Senator Coleman. I was like, when are you going to start? Because I'm not done until 9:15. I should have known better that you guys were going to be talking for a while. But as I was thinking about not making it, it really hurt my heart because I knew that there's going to be a day, hopefully a long time from now, but there's going to be a day when I hope that I will be memorialized. And I thought there's going to be a young person who is going to face that same decision. Should I go and deliver this keynote, or should I get somebody else to do it so I can be here? And I thought about the legacy. And as I look on you all, the legacy that you will leave, I hope that you dream of having this kind of legacy, of having people come to speak about the impact that you have made on their lives, but also on the law. Because that's part of the reason why we all speak to this, is because for many of us, we became the first because there was no opportunity for us, because there was a law that prohibited us. My mom was one of the first black women to work on Wall Street. She tells me that even now. She's in hospice, but she still reminds me that. She and my grandmother, two very strong black women, instilled in me a passion for becoming the first or doing whatever I set my mind to do, even when they couldn't. I was born in 1960, Honorable Webb, so 1960, yeah, I was born in 1960, at a time when we didn't have the civil rights movement, at a time when my mother and my birth father, it was still illegal in most states for them to be married. Interracial marriage wasn't legal until 1967. The Voting Rights Act wasn't passed until 65. I was already 5 years old, 7 years old, 4 years old. Law means a lot. It gives people opportunity. It gives access. So what you're doing here is not just taking a seat. You are helping to craft the laws that will provide opportunity for so many people. When I first came into this building, it was January of 2003, 20 years ago, almost to the day. It was the first time I was actually in the building, was new legislator orientation. I had never been in this building. I had never done anything politically before. And I was in Fort Collins, so I wasn't among the Denver community of African-American political folks. And when I came in, Representative Marshall, I know you remember this because we joked about it a lot. My desk was not far from her desk. And I came in and I said, you know, I'm a sister. And Representative Marshall was like, sorority or what kind of sister are you? I wore my hair a little bit differently. And so when Gloria Tanner found out that I was a sister, boy, and Representative Marshall as well. In fact, I think it was Representative Marshall who introduced me to Senator Tanner, embraced me so well. And in every opportunity, in fact, just when I was appointed to lead the Department of Higher Education, which I do right now in the governor's cabinet, and we were having a meeting with the black education community, and Senator Tanner said, she stood up, this is just 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and she stood up and she said, I just want everybody to know that Director Piccioni is a sister. And she said, her mother just had a thing for Italians. But I was delighted for her to say that, because the embrace that she had for me and the guidance and mentoring that she provides to so many of us is her legacy. And so I want to end with just saying, what will be your legacy? How will we speak about you? And I hope that it will be with the same kind of passion and commitment that all of these people here have spoken with. Thank you.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Senators. Regrettably, this is the third time I've been here this session for a memorial. And I have to tell you, every time it sort of breaks a piece of your heart to be here and talk about people you've served with, but it also lifts your spirit to talk about someone who was so important to you and I feel the state of Colorado. Like many that you heard speak, Senator Tanner was important to my rite of passage, but in two ways, and in one way that may be distinct from some of the other speakers. See, Senator Tanner, like Senator Groff, like Representative Webb, like Representative Marshall, like the other Representative Webb, like Senator Groff, like Senator Brown, I met all of these people through my mom and dad. And so I grew up watching them do the things they did. Often alongside with my dad, sometimes butting heads, but I watched that, and it forms a cohesive community when people understand they're all in a battle and a struggle together, much like Representative Piccioni was referring to. But what's more important is when you're forged in that battle, the people around you who watch you take responsibility for toughening you up and getting you ready for when it's your turn to step up and fight that battle. And Senator Tanner did that for me. Like many others, I had to go in the living room and get approved to run for office. I had a similar meeting with Representative Webb and former Mayor Webb to make sure I was made of the right stuff. It helped that my dad knew them, but you can't always stand on your parents' accomplishments or others. You have to prove yourself. But then once you're approved, it's nice to be accepted and to be mentored. And that's when I sat thinking about Senator Tanner, I just wrote down a bunch of words: fierce, determined, loving, mentor, wise, clever. Oh man, was she smooth. Senator Hernandez talked about how they used to caucus in the corner over there, the only Latino and the only African American in the Senate. Senator Tanner used to summon me from the House and sit me in the corner and say, so here's what you need to do. You're in the minority in the House. Your bill's going to die unless you get this senator to go over there and talk to Ken Clover, and you get this senator to go over there and talk to Jim Rizzuto, and get some of these senators to talk to some of these representatives, or your bill is dead. And she was masterful at that. She was political. She was strategic. And you hear about her accomplishments, but one thing I think to take into perspective, and to some of you I'm going to say to give you hope, she was always in the minority her entire legislative career. So you don't have to be in the majority to get good work done and get good ideas passed. There's a collegial requirement, particularly in this body, in the Senate, that is required to be successful. As Senator Dennis said, the Safe Haven bill was not a slam dunk. You would think that a lot of people would want to make sure that kids that were born to women who couldn't raise them and needed someplace to take them safely, that would be a supported goal. That was hard. And when Senator Tanner ran the bill, she came to Representative Berry and I and asked if we'd be bipartisan sponsors in the House, and we said, yeah. Make no mistake about it, it got done because Gloria Tanner wanted it done and pushed to get it done. She probably got more votes for us in the House than we got for ourselves on that particular piece of legislation. I want to close with just this thought. When I spoke before about the other two senators, I talked about what I hope was not a dying breed, about people who get elected to office because they're motivated by their desire to build a better world, a better community, a better place for all of us. I talked about those other two people as statesmen. Well, Gloria Tanner was a stateswoman because she understood that her name wasn't Senator, her name was Gloria. And she understood that there was a senator before her and there'd be a senator after her. And that her obligation as a trustee of the office was to serve the community and make the community, and indeed the community of our state, a better place for all of us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
The Senate will now come back to order. Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Contrary to popular belief, our status with God is not based on our title. And our status with God is based on how we serve our neighbor. and Gloria Tanner is reaping the rewards of that, of serving her neighbors. I have before you the flag adopted June 5th, 1911. The state flag embodies the colors of the national flag, the blue of the Colorado skies, the gold of her metal, the white of the mountain snow, and the red of her soil. This flag of the state of Colorado is flown at the Capitol, Colorado State Capitol, in honor of Senator Gloria Travis Tanner, Colorado's first black woman senator, at the request of the Colorado Black Caucus, April 11, 2023. And I'll present that to the family. Thank you.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I know we have a lot of business to get done, but I think we all understand the importance of this day and this moment in recognizing one of our own. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize just two more folks, individuals who have taken up the mantle, but also individuals who have paved the way. In order for you to get elected, you have to have a campaign manager. And one of those folks who happened to help Senator Tanner was Miss Anna Jo Haynes. Just want to make sure we recognize her. Thank you so much for your support. Also wanted to recognize that as one of the individuals that helped create the Colorado Black Women for Political Action, we still have the Colorado Black Women for Political Action, and it's running strong today, and we have a president in the House. Her name is Bianca Emerson. Thank you for joining us as well. And the staff, and the team. And last but certainly not least, we want to recognize her family. I have names of some folks, but maybe not all, but I do ask that you all please stand as family of Senator Tanner. We have Terry Tanner, her son. We have Tiffany Tanner, her granddaughter. We have Daphne Salazar, her great-granddaughter, and Debbie Tanner, daughter-in-law. If there's any names that I've failed to acknowledge, please forgive me, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for allowing us to have her. And she continued to make an impact for the state and continues to do so today. Let's give the family a round of applause. Mr. President, I renew my motion for the adoption of Senate Joint Memorial 006, and I request a roll call vote.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Joint Memorial 6. Will the clerk please poll the members?
Senators: Baisley. Baisley, aye. Bridges. Bridges, aye. Buckner. Buckner, aye. Coleman.
Aye.
Coleman, aye. Cutter. Cutter, aye. Danielson. Danielson, aye. Exum. Exum, aye. Fields. Fields, aye. Gardner. Gardner, aye. Janal. Janal, aye. Gonzalez. Gonzalez, aye. Hanson. Hanson, aye. Hinrichsen. Hinrichsen, aye. Hawkes Lewis. Hawkes Lewis, aye. Kirkmeyer. Kirkmeyer, aye. Kolker. Kolker, aye. Liston. Liston, aye. Lundin. Lundin, aye. Marchman. Marchman, aye. Moreno. Moreno, aye. Mullica. Mullica, aye. Pelton B. Pelton B, aye. Pelton R. Pelton R, aye. Priola. Priola, aye. Rich. Rich, aye. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Rodriguez. Rodriguez, aye. Simpson. Simpson, aye. Smallwood. Smallwood, aye. Sullivan. Sullivan, aye. Van Winkle. Van Winkle, aye. Will. Will, I. Winter. Winter, I. Zenzinger. Zenzinger, I. Dennis. Dennis, I. Hernandez. Hernandez, I. Tate. Tate, I. Weissman. Weissman, I. Mr. President.
Aye.
President, I.
With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Memorial 6 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
See no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. The Senate will now observe a moment of silence in memory of Senator Tanner. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we take a brief moment, just wanted to remind the individuals who are here, the women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, to please stay as we do have an additional tribute to you. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will now stand in a brief recess to allow members to greet the family and our guests. The Senate will come to order. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by the senator from Denver.
The motion is for the Senate to proceed out of order. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no? No. The ayes have it. The Senate will now proceed out of order. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the state of Colorado, the Senate and House of Representatives convene in the first regular session of the 74th General Assembly hereby extends heartiest congratulations and commendations to the Denver alumni, Colorado Springs alumni, Tau Lambda and Zeta Pi citywide chapters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13, 1913 on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. by 22 college-educated women. Their first public act was participating in the Women's Suffrage March on Pennsylvania Avenue in March 1913, just 2 months after establishing the sorority. Their members have remained at the forefront of social action and political struggles, including serving in the Colorado Senate and House of Representatives. For over 110 years, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has implemented programs and projects to support its 5-point programmatic thrust: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. Since 1913, over 350,000 women have been initiated in over 1,000 chapters across the United States and throughout countries in the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, and Africa. We honor Delta Sigma Theta Day at the Colorado State Capitol in recognition of the sorority's tremendous impact across our great centennial state of Colorado, the United States, and worldwide. On request of Representatives Elizabeth Epps, Jennifer Bacon, Leslie Herod, Nikita Ricks, Eman Judah, Junie Joseph, Regina English, and Senators Rhonda Fields, Janet Buckner, Tony Exum, and James Coleman, given this 11th day of April 2023, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, signed by Julie McCluskey, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and our very own President of the Senate, Steve Finberg. Members, thank you so much for standing. I know a few members might want to say some words, but do please join us really quickly in acknowledging these individuals here today. Members, please feel free to take your seats. I just wanted to also specifically acknowledge the president of the Denver Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Janice M. Satchel. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for coming today. I happen to be a member of one of the Divine Nine African-American fraternities and sororities, Kappa Alpha Psi, January 5th, 1911. I might be Spring 2012 Denver Alumni Chapter. I'm not going to go into all the dates and times. But the point is, we share a special bond, and it's a privilege to be able to recognize them along with the members of the Black Caucus and all of us here today. But I would be remiss if I did not say, not only was Senator Gloria Tanner a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but all of these individuals have been a blessing in my life personally, but they've also been a blessing even in the next generation because my daughter is a member of Delta Academy, and she's been conditioned. I'm just playing with you. No, she's been forced. That's not what I meant. She's been encouraged. No, she's been encouraged because she has so many great women in her life who are a part of my life. They're like aunts or mothers or grandmothers to her, and so it's something that she immediately said, "When can I sign up?" And it's been a blessing because they've taught her a lot about what it is to be a young Black woman as she continues to grow and develop into a leader that she already is. So I just wanted to say a personal thank you to all of you who have supported even me and my daughter in her growth and development.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I can't let the brotherhood have the last word. So I would like to invite my sorority sister up here and once again allow us to welcome the beautiful, phenomenal women of Delta Sigma Theta to the state capitol. We love having you here. Thank you.
Some of my best friends are Deltas. Even though I'm an Alpha Kappa Alpha, I wore red for you all today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1095?
House Bill 1095, Representatives Woodrow and Lindsay, Senators Henriksen and Winter F. concerning prohibiting the inclusion of certain provisions in written rental agreements.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1095 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1095. Are there any no votes? Senators Will, Baisley, Simpson, Pelton R., Pelton B., Rich, Liston, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, Minority Leader Lundin, Janal, Mullica, Roberts. Zenzinger. With a vote of 20 ayes, 15 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1095 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Jaquez Lewis, Cutter, Majority Leader Moreno, Gonzalez. Exum. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move for the immediate reconsideration of House Bill 1095.
Motion is for the immediate reconsideration of House Bill 1095. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and immediate reconsideration is granted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1095?
House Bill 1095, Representatives Woodrow and Lindsay, Senators Henriksen and Winter F. concerning prohibiting the inclusion of certain provisions in written rental agreements.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for third reading and final passage, House Bill 1095.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1095. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Simpson, Baisley, Pelton R., Pelton B., Rich, Liston, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, Lundin, Roberts, Mullica, Janal, Zenzinger. With a vote of 19 ayes, 16 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1095 is passed. Co-sponsors. And if I already called you in the last go-around, you're already on there. Yep. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 187?
Senate Bill 187, Senator Winter F. and Rodriguez, Representatives Froelich and Bacon concerning fees paid to the Public Utilities Commission by operators of transportation services in the state and in connection therewith, requiring the Public Utilities Commission to establish fees administratively.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move on third reading and final passage, Senate Bill 187.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 187. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Baisley, Simpson, Pelton R., Pelton B., Rich, Liston, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, Minority Leader Lundin. With a vote of 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 187 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Jaquez Lewis, Henriksen. Majority Leader Moreno. Colker. Cutter. Buckner. Priola. General orders. Never mind. Committee reports.
April 11, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following Senate Bill 5 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole, a favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 7 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole, a favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 13 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole, a favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 29 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 31 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 54 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 65 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 111 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 166 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 167 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 173 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 205 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1077 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1132 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar.
General orders, second reading on bills, consent calendar. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of
General orders.
General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, there has been a request to remove House Bill 1183 from the consent calendar. That will be placed at the bottom of the general orders, second reading of bills calendar. What was it?
So House Bill 1183 will be moved to the general order, second reading of bills. Will the clerk please read the remaining bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
Senate Bill 1089, Representative Young, Senator Zenzinger, concerning the continuation of special education services for a student in foster care when the student moves. Senate Bill 210, Senator Exum, concerning updates to administrative statutes for specific administrative entities that focus on human and social services. House Bill 1204, Representative Lindstedt and Weinberg, Senator Priola, concerning the discharge of a client from a recovery residence.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of all the bills on the second reading consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which includes House Bill 1089, Senate Bill 210, and the associated Health and Human Services Committee report, and House Bill 1204.
The motion is the adoption of House Bill 1089, Senate Bill 210, and House Bill 1204. Is there any discussion on the committee reports? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the committee reports. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion of any of the bills on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1089, Senate Bill 210, and House Bill 1204. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 210 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1089, House Bill 1204, passed on second reading, and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1183, removed from the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, and placed at the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar for April 11, 2023.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Another report. Senate Bill 210 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1089 and 1204 passed on second reading, ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1183 removed from the general order second reading of bills consent calendar and placed at the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar for April 11th. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general order second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 27? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 27.
The motion is to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Bill 27. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Bill 27. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 27?
Senate Bill 27, Senator Cutter, concerning funding of the Food Pantry Assistance Grant Program.
Senator Cutter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 27 and the Appropriations Committee report.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the Food Pantry Assistance Grant Program that we've run for several years. It provides a very targeted grant. It's a very targeted grant program to provide local communities with healthy, fresh food, make a connection to them, to their ag producers in the area, their food producers in the area, and provide them with culturally appropriate, fresh, healthy food. This year, we actually have stripped the appropriations because there was some money put towards it in supplementals this year, but we wanted to retain the program so we can hopefully continue to fund it in years to come. And I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 27. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 27 is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 191.
The motion is to proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 191. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Bill 191. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 191?
Senate Bill 191, Senator Cutter, Representatives Joseph and Kipp, concerning a study regarding diversion of organic materials from landfills.
Senator Cutter.
1 minute. Do I just say move the bill now? Okay. I move Senate Bill 191. There we go. Thank you.
There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L002?
Amendment L002 by Senator Cutter, amend printed bill, page 3, strike lines 2 through 9, read letters succeeding paragraphs accordingly, page 3, strike lines 25 through 27, strike pages 4 and 5, page 6, strike lines 1 through 9, page 6, line 13, strike uses such as and substitute usages, page 6, strike lines 14 through 17, page 6, strike lines 23 through 26, and substitute future policies to increase organics diversion.
We're going to take a senatorial 5. The committee will come back to order. Is there any discussion on Amendment L002 to Senate Bill 191? Senator Cutter.
I move L001, and this just narrows the legislative declaration based on feedback that it was a little bit long, so I ask for your support. Oh, that was L002. Apologies.
Seeing no further discussion on L002, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L002. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L002 is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L003?
Amendment
Senator
L003.
Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L003.
Is there any discussion on Amendment L003? Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard this bill in Ag Committee some time ago. Can't remember what it was. And composting piques my interest as a farmer. I use actually liquid compost. I run through my center pivot sprinkler system, and it's highly valuable. This is a bill about CDPHE studying organic composting. And I have one of these active organic composters in my Senate district, in Senate District 6, just outside of Durango, and toured their facility last summer and appreciate the effort, the kind of mutual benefits of diverting organic waste out of landfills and composting it and then marketing it to farmers and ranchers and to gardeners. And so my concerns with the bill as introduced, I did support it in committee. Appreciate the sponsors' responsiveness and a number of references in the introduced bill about mandatory and mandatory diversion. And the amendment we offer today replaces those mandatory diversions with policies that consider that effort going forward. So I urge support of L003.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We were really, really happy to work with Senator Simpson and others on the Ag Committee to amend this, and this is a friendly amendment, so I ask for your support.
Seeing no further discussion on Amendment L003, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L003. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L003 is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L004?
Amendment L004 by
Senator Cutter.
I'd like to move L004.
Is there any discussion on Amendment L004?
This just tightens the language and includes some clarification on stakeholders.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L004. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L004 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colorado has an issue right now with composting. We only compost about 6% of the materials we discard, and there's a lot we can do to create a circular economy, create industry, help farmland, help keep things out of the landfill, preserve our lands. And this bill is basically just asking CDPHE to conduct a more in-depth study about what parts of the state we can work in, what they need, and how they might use compost, so we can work towards creating a more robust infrastructure that will benefit all of us. Ask for your support.
Seeing no further, Senator Pelton. This is the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the sponsor for these amendments. They help the bill. I still cannot get there in a support position. I come from a very, very small rural county, and I was a county commissioner, and our landfills have unique issues that a lot of the counties in my district are frontier and rural counties. Mine was a frontier, and I just don't think there's enough waste to actually make any kind of a program feasible at all around the organic diversions. Maybe through this study we will find something, but right now I think that in those frontier landfills it's going to be a waste of resources, and we just don't have the manpower to do any extra diversion or the resources to hire anybody. So with that, I will be a no on the bill. Thank you.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to come up and speak a little bit about this. Thank you for the bill, and thank you for accepting that last amendment. And I am glad it's a study. I can tell you that thank you. Guess you can hear me better now. I think it's a good thing that it is a study, but one of my concerns is these dumps. I can tell you that the Aspen landfill has about 40 bears in it every day, and lots of these dumps around these cities have those. And so if we remove that, I don't know what the impact's going to be to the surrounding communities around those landfills if we take away that organic food source. So there is some implications to it, but I'm not in strong opposition to composting, no. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 191. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 191 is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 59.
The motion is to proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 59. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Bill 59. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 59?
Senate Bill 59, Senators Baisley and Roberts, Representatives Catlin and McLaughlin, concerning providing funding to local governments to support access to state-owned outdoor recreational areas.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 59, the Appropriations Committee report, the Finance Committee report, and the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee report.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? To the Agriculture Committee report. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Agriculture Committee, we did a substantial amendment to this bill which pared back the grant program that was proposed to be established into an impact study that the department will undertake over the course of the next year and a half to study the impacts of the Keep Colorado Wild Pass on local infrastructure rather than create a grant program. That was the bulk of the amendment. I'd ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Seeing no further discussion on the Agriculture Committee report, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Ag and Natural Resources Committee report is adopted. To the Finance Committee report, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Finance Committee, we clarified the rulemaking authority of the department with regards to the gate fee and the study. And ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion on the Finance Committee report, the motion is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Finance Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Appropriations Committee, they made an appropriation by transferring funds from an existing fund within DNR into to fund this bill. Ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion on the Appropriations report, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, fellow senators, this bill started out as asking for some of the Keep Colorado Wild funds to go directly to maintaining the roads that are access to state parks, which will see an increase in visitation from Coloradans especially. So, but that got pared down as my co-prime Senator Roberts just described earlier in the amendment. So it will be an impact study, and we will know over the next couple of years what the impact actually is, and would it make sense to fund additional monies towards maintaining those roads with additional traffic coming across them, which is a concern of our counties. So it's a good bill even as it is now. I think this is a very worthy study for us to fund and to get a report on in a couple of years. So I strongly urge an aye vote.
Senator Pelton, R.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to kind of talk about the reason I was a no vote in committee. Being a former county commissioner, I can kind of understand, these counties that have this impact with people driving through their county, accessing state parks, things like that. I had a real issue with the fee part of it. Now that it's converted over to a study, makes the bill a little more palatable. I still have trouble with the fee. In my opinion, fee is just another three-letter word that's mispronounced. And so with that, I will probably still be a no vote.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I too am glad this has turned into a study bill. I had some real issues with this bill. One of which is about the additional fee from local government charging up to $2 per visit. That would mean every time I went home, I'd have to pay $2. I live in the middle of a state wildlife area. But I'm very concerned about free will tax. I'm really concerned about this bill. Also the part about, I understand with the additional money from Parks and Wildlife and from the Colorado Wild Pass, there's overflow money. I don't think the full intent of that past legislation was to fund roads or access, and it's kind of like, where does it start and where does it end? I think the study part of this is fine. I'm just, in general, just the whole philosophy of the bill, I'm in opposition to. But we'll see from the study what comes out of it. Thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for their comments, and want to thank the good senator from Newcastle for his leadership in creating the Keep Colorado Wild Pass. It has, by all accounts, been successful in the first 3 months of this year, but what we heard in committee is testimony after testimony after testimony from Republican and Democratic county commissioners about the significant wear and tear on their roads that they're already experiencing from the increased visitation that spiked during COVID to our state parks, but will no doubt increase because so many more people will have these Keep Colorado Wild passes. So I think getting our counties the infrastructure funding that they need to maintain the roads and maintain a good experience for people going to state parks and state wildlife areas is important. I just wanted to clarify too on the fee. The fee is optional. A local government can impose that if they would like to, up to $2 per daily pass. So it will not apply to people that have a Keep Colorado Wild Pass. It certainly won't apply to you going home, Senator Will, but it will most likely only apply to people from out of state that are coming to visit our state parks but don't have a Keep Colorado Wild Pass. So I want to emphasize that it's optional, only up to $2, and helps with infrastructure needs that are badly needed. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 59. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 59 is adopted. We'll take a senatorial 5. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee proceed out of order for consideration of House Bill 1183.
The motion is to proceed out of order for consideration of House Bill 1183. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will proceed out of order for consideration of House Bill 1183. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1183?
House Bill 1183, Representatives Judah and Sirota, Senator Winter F., concerning Medicaid prior authorization requests for a step therapy exception and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of House Bill 1183, and I move Amendment L003.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L003?
Amendment L003.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L003 is adding biosimilars to this bill. This bill is an update to step therapy for Medicaid. We updated the private market last year, and so this brings them into compliance and being equal, and so we're asking to add biosimilars, and I encourage a yes vote.
Senator Winter, could you please make the motion to move L003?
I move L003.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on L003? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of Amendment L003. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L003 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the passage of House Bill 1183. This is about ensuring patients have the best access to health care without having to routinely and repeatedly go through step therapy and can rely on the expertise of their health care providers. And I encourage yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1183. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1183 is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over the balance of the second reading calendar till tomorrow, Wednesday, April 12th.
The motion is to lay over the balance of the calendar to tomorrow. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the balance of the calendar will be laid over. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 27 is amended. Senate Bill 191 is amended. Senate Bill 59 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1183 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1190, Senate Bill 206, 16, 105, 179, House Bill 1009, laid over until April 12, 2023, and retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Thank you. Senate Bill 27 is amended. Senate Bill 191 is amended. Senate Bill 59 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1183 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1190, Senate Bill 206, Senate Bill 16, Senate Bill 105, Senate Bill 179, and House Bill 1009, laid over until 4/12/2023, and retaining their place on the calendar. Special orders. Second, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up Senate Bill 7 and 173 on special orders at the hour of 12:04 p.m.
You heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will take up those bills for special order second reading of bills. Special order second reading of the bill. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself to the committee of the whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed for all. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 007?
Senate Bill 7, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, Representatives Kipp and Catlin, concerning enhancing adult education in Colorado.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 7 and the Appropriations Committee report. And the Education report.
To the Education Committee report.
We made a few small amendments in education related to the program.
Seeing no further discussion on the Education Committee report, the motion is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Zenzinger.
We appropriated the funding.
Seeing no further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report, the motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. To the bill. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L009?
Amendment L009 by Senator Zenzinger, amend printed bill page 10.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L009. Members, through this bill, we are making a change allowing community colleges, local district colleges, and area technical colleges to be able to confer a high school diploma. We, with this amendment, are making sure that they are abiding by the local school district's graduation requirements.
Seeing no further discussion on Amendment L009, the motion is the adoption of L009. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L009 is adopted. To the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 007. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 007 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 173?
Senate Bill 173, Senators Fields and Liston, Representative Bradley, concerning recommendations of the Colorado Child Support Commission.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move Senate Bill 173, and I also move the Health and Human Services Committee report, and I also move the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Health and Human Services Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, the committee report establishes a basic child support obligation schedule. I ask for an aye vote.
The motion is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also move the Appropriations Committee report.
There is no Appropriations Committee report, so it's already adopted. To the bill.
Members, we heard this bill last week, and there was no opposition. Passed out of committee 7-0, and we ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 173. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 173 is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 7 is amended. Senate Bill 173 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Thank you. Senate Bill 23007 as amended. Senate Bill 173 as amended. Passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Members of the Board of Trustees for Fort Lewis College, effective January 1st, 2023, for terms expiring December 31st, 2026. Janet Vilsack of Mountain View, Colorado, reappointed. Christopher Red of Bayfield, Colorado, reappointed. Stacy DeFore of Castle Rock, Colorado, appointed.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of all the appointments on the consent calendar, which includes the members of the Board of Trustees for Fort Lewis College.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, those appointments are confirmed. Announcement.
Introduction of bills?
Signing of bills.
April 11, 2023, the President has signed Senate Bill 189, 190, 231, and 233.
Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 276, Senator Fenberg, concerning modifications to laws regarding elections.
State Federal Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 277, Senator Buckner, concerning measures to provide resources to increase public safety and in connection therewith extending related and existing appropriations.
Local government and housing. Announcements. Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, just another reminder that tomorrow is April 12th is the annual golf day at the Capitol. So the Colorado Golf Coalition will be represented by members of the Colorado Golf Association, the Rocky Mountain Golf Course Superintendents Association, the Mile High Chamber of the Club Managers Association, and the Colorado sections of the PGA. So please swing by the West Foyer between 7:30 and 9 for coffee, breakfast, and some golf swag. Swing.
Senator Pelton R.
Thank you, Mr. President. I talked with the minority and the majority leaders. They both think it's time that they take a break from me for a day, so I've been excused for Monday, April 17th.
All those opposed? All right. Members, I have an announcement. We will be hearing Senate Bill 23-276 concerning modifications to laws regarding elections on Thursday afternoon in the State Veteran Military Affairs Committee. Any other announcements? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing no further announcements, I move that the Senate adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, April 12th at 9 a.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. Wednesday, April 12th, 2023.